What's up, guys? Today we are going to be testing out some brand new drugstore and affordable makeup that I am really excited about. And I'm also just excited to be back. I know I took a few days off last week because my son was sick. He is thankfully feeling better and back in school today, and I didn't catch the cold, so I'm really happy about that as well. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and get started because I do have quite a few things to share. So first up, we have a new color corrector from Moira. So these are called the CC Prep Concealer. They sent me 6 different shades, so I'll show you all of the colors that they come in. I'm not sure if this is everything or if they just sent me a sampling, but I'm thinking it's probably all the colors. And these range in color from fair all the way to deep, and they claim to be for canceling dark circles and dark spots on the face. They also say that they have full coverage, they're supposed to be crease proof, they contain peptides and vitamin E, and they're 100% vegan. These are also made in Taiwan, in case you're curious, and they do really seem to have a very full coverage. So I'm excited to see if I could really even just use this in place of a concealer. So I think I'm gonna use the fair shade today, which is sort of like a pinky undertone. And just like with concealer, I generally put color correctors on the outer corner right here, and then a little bit on the inner corner, and then I'll sort of blend it toward the middle, just so I don't put too much in that area where I have fine lines. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blend this with a damp sponge. So far, it definitely does seem to brighten. Okay, so that blended really nicely into the skin. I will say that I noticed some sort of like shimmer or sheen going on, which, to be completely honest with you, I'm not super excited about it. It almost looks like a highlighter, like right here and right here. It's very shimmery, and generally any type of area on my face where I have texture, I don't want to add shimmer because it's just going to make it look even more textured and less smooth. And I find that that's what's happening right in the curve of my inner eye right here. It looks kind of like a little bit bumpy and textured. I'll just zoom you guys in quickly so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I don't know if you guys can tell or see what I'm seeing, but it just really looks extra shiny there, and it makes my skin's texture kind of pop a little bit more, and it makes it more noticeable. So I'm not really loving this on its own, but I'm hoping that if I cover it with concealer or foundation, that maybe it'll minimize that shininess. I'm not quite sure why they did that or what they were going for. I don't know. I just feel like at age 45 now, the last thing I want to do is add shimmer in any place that is more on the textured side. But that being said, I do feel like it brightened up my eye area, and it did seem to cancel out the discoloration and things like that. So it does do its job in that sense. I'm just not crazy about all of the shimmer. So let's move on to foundation. And I have this new one from JOAH. This is the Crystal Glow Peptide Infused Foundation. So I actually think, now that I've had this home and I've swatched it before, I think that this is actually their Primedation repackaged and renamed. So I have tried this foundation in the past, if it is the same one, but I'm pretty sure it is. It has all the same claims. It claims to have peptides, hyaluronic acid, and collagen, and it's supposed to be an all-in-one foundation, primer, and skincare. I got mine in the shade FC40, which is fair with cool undertones. It is supposed to have medium coverage. It also is supposed to have blue light defense, and it's made in Korea. So I do definitely remember liking their Primedation. I don't think it was my absolute favorite foundation ever, but it was also a couple years ago when I tried it, and I could feel completely differently about it now because that happens often with foundations. So I'm gonna pump a little bit on the back of my hand, and I figured I would do one side of my face with a brush and then the other side with a sponge, and we'll see what the difference is. So for the brush side, I'm gonna be using my Jen Phelps brush from Doll 10. I love how soft this brush is, and it has a nice angle to it, so it's great for getting like up underneath your eye and around your nose. So I asked for this specific shape because I just love an angled foundation brush. So right off the bat, this has really good coverage. I would say it's definitely a solid medium like they claimed, and it does have some radiance to it as well. It definitely looks very shiny, come to think of it. It does have a little bit of a thicker feel. It's very creamy. It does feel kind of like a moisturizer. I don't know how much I love it with the brush, only because I feel like it looks a little bit makeup-y. It's not cakey per se, I just think it's a little bit of a heavier formula, and I think if I thin it out with a sponge, it'll just look a little bit more natural on the skin. But I don't think it's bad, and I will zoom you guys in so you can see what these look like. But first I just want to do the other side. So this side I'm going to use the Damp Beauty sponge, and I'm just going to press it in. It does still have that radiant finish to it, and I think this color is pretty good. It's not overly yellow, but I also don't feel like it has a pink undertone either. It kind of looks a little bit on the warmer side, oddly enough. And it's just slightly too dark for me, but I can definitely make that work. Okay, so with a sponge, I don't feel like I get quite as much coverage, but I also like the way it looks on my skin a lot better. So I'll quickly zoom you guys in so you can see what I'm talking about. I think the side with the brush, you definitely see the foundation a little bit more, and you see all of that radiance and the glow that it has. And I notice the pores, especially on my cheek, a little bit more than I do on the other side. And it also seems to be settling into the fine lines on my forehead a little bit and just making those more noticeable. Then on the other side, it does still have that radiance to it, but I don't think it has quite as much. And I also just think it's sitting a little bit smoother on the skin. It doesn't look quite as heavy and makeup-y, and it doesn't have quite as much coverage, although I do think it has enough for me. I just like that it's not settling into fine lines and pores nearly as much on this side. So I think what I'm going to do is just go over this side with my sponge and just try to take down that makeup-y look a little bit. The sponge might lift off that top layer. I think sometimes the brush just applies too much, which is good if you have a lighter, thinner coverage foundation and you want to add a little bit more. But I think in this case, this has enough coverage that I really didn't need to use the brush. Yeah, I think this looks a lot better. It's taking down that shine, which I think was also part of the reason why my pores were looking a little bit more prominent, because it is a very glowy formula, and adding that glow is just really kind of making my pores stand out. Kind of similar to the color corrector that I put on. Anything that's shiny is just going to draw attention to texture. So I'm pretty much standing by how I felt about the foundation the first time around. It's okay. I don't really love it. I think there are definitely better ones out there. I love JOAH's BB cream. I think that is fabulous, and I would definitely buy that one over this one. It has just as much coverage, even though it's a BB cream. It has a really solid medium coverage, and I like the finish on it a lot more. It has more of that satiny, very skin-like type of a texture, so it doesn't look really glowy or makeup-y on the skin. It's just like a moisturizer with really good coverage, so I definitely recommend that one, I think, over this. Moving on, I'm really excited to try the new L'Oreal Infallible blushes. I showed these on my Instagram stories and over on my community tab on YouTube, and the one comment that I kept getting over and over again is they're $15.99, so $16 for a blush just seems outrageous. And I get it, but also these are exclusive to Ulta right now, and Ulta is always more high priced than the other drugstores, so I can probably see these being more like a $12, $13 blush at Walmart or Target when they do eventually get there. And if you do want to buy them now at Ulta, I mean, you can always use points at Ulta, and I think that's why they keep their prices a little bit higher, because they know that a lot of people are going to be using points and their coupons and everything. So if you can get one of the coupons or use your points, then you can get a much better deal on these. But I was excited for these because I love the bronzer so much. It is the softest, most blendable bronzer, and I had a feeling the blushes would be too. So let's take a quick look at the packaging. They come in the exact same packaging as the bronzer, except it's more of a hot pink color. And right now they only come in 4 shades. I was a little bit disappointed. I would have liked to see at least maybe 6 colors. But for now you have 2 shades that look like they would be great for lighter skin tones. You have Confident Pink, which is a light pink, and then Fearless Coral, which is more of a peachy pink. And then for deeper skin tones, you have Daring Rosewood, which is kind of like a rosy brown color. And then you have Legendary Berry, which is a beautiful plum color. So you do have a couple of options depending on your skin tone, but I really wish that they would come out with more. And maybe if these do well, they will, who knows. But swatch wise, I want to show you just how soft these are, because when you swirl your finger in the compact, it's like velvet. It just feels so incredible. And if you have the bronzer, then you already know what I'm talking about. But these are just on another level as far as smoothness goes. And when I swatch these out, these have incredible pigmentation. So I think I'm probably going to have to go in very easy with these. and they just look so smoothing on the skin, which I'm very excited about. I just love a blush formula that makes your cheeks look smooth, especially because that's the one area of my face that I feel like I have a little bit more texture. So anything that's gonna smooth things over is definitely welcome. And I think the colors all look very pretty and flattering, much more so than they looked online. So I think in person, these are definitely a lot better. So I think for today, I'm gonna use the shade Confident Pink. This is the one I'm probably the most excited about. And I think I'm probably gonna end up doing a cooler tone look for my eyes. So I wanna use something that's a little bit on the cooler side. So I'm gonna be using my Jen Phelps powder brush for this. And let's see how these apply. I just kind of dipped my brush in very lightly and then tapped off the excess. So yeah, these are very, very pigmented. A little bit goes a very long way, but I can already see the smoothing effect on my skin. And these are actually reminding me of those new Too Faced blushes, you know, the ones that are supposed to smooth out your skin. Very, very similar in texture. That is just gorgeous. It kind of just melted into my skin and it doesn't look powdery or like it's sitting on top. It has a really natural look to it, almost like the blush is kind of coming from within. I really, really like these a lot. And I also didn't powder my face, which usually I don't because I have really dry skin and typically foundations will set down on me. This one isn't completely setting down. It does feel a little bit sticky. And as I started putting the blush on, I thought, oh my gosh, I probably should have powdered because this is gonna like grab, but the formula is so smooth that it's even blending on top of like more of a dewy, sticky foundation. So I think that's really impressive because some blushes, you just put them down and they would just leave like a blob of color on your cheek and they wouldn't move. And this one, like it just blended out seamlessly. And I also love this color. I think it just wakes up my face. It is so, so beautiful. Okay, so now I really hope they come out with more colors of these because I would buy them all. This is so nice. So moving on to eyes, JOAH has some new eyeshadow palettes. They have some 4-pan palettes and also some larger palettes as well. And I haven't really seen anybody talking about these. I think I saw Tati review these a while ago and I really didn't see them in my local CVS stores until very recently. You can also get them online as well. So let me just quickly show you some swatches of the 4-pan palettes really quick. I got 3 different ones to try. I'm not sure if they come in more shades, but this is all I saw at my local store. And I think these look really pretty. They come in a nice compact. It feels very heavy duty. These are actually made in Taiwan, and I felt like they swatched really, really nicely. The matte shades had a very soft, velvety feel. The shimmer shades felt creamy, and I felt like they had a lot of pigmentation, nice grip to the skin. I think the warmer toned one called Gold Getter was probably the most impressive just in terms of pigmentation. I felt like that one probably swatched the best out of the 3, but they all seem to do pretty well. So I am definitely excited to try these out at some point. I think I'm going to try one of the larger palettes today on camera, but I'm assuming they're probably the same formula. Let me see where these are made. Yeah, these are also made in Taiwan. So I'm guessing they're probably the same formula. And if I like this formula, I'll probably like that one as well. So let me show you these palettes really quick. These are called the Color Haul, and all 3 of them are pretty much on the neutral side. The first one is Smoke Show, and this one is a beautiful kind of balance between warm tones. It also has a few cool tones in there as well. It's a little bit more on the earthy side. It has those warm browns and bronzes, but you also have kind of that silvery, smoky gray mixed in there too. I really like the balance of this, and I think it just looks absolutely beautiful. The next one is Get Rich Quick, and as soon as I saw this one, it reminded me of the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. It has those same yellowy browns and bronzes and golds, and I also thought this one swatched beautifully. There was one shade that in the pan, it looks like it has stripes on it. That one didn't pick up very well, but the other shades were just so creamy and buttery and beautiful. So I was very impressed with how this one swatched as well. Then the third one that I got is called First Dance, and this one has these really gorgeous rosy tones. It's a little bit more on the cooler side. It has some smoky colors, but it also has some lighter shades as well. And it also has that weird shade that looks like a petri dish that you'd see in a lot of the Huda Beauty palettes. And I just think these colors are right up my alley. I would say out of the 3 palettes, this one probably didn't swatch quite as impressively, but I still felt like the shades swatched really well. I just think that sometimes with cool tones, they're a little bit harder to formulate, at least from what I'm told. But regardless, I still feel like this swatch really nicely. So I think I want to try this one out on my eyes because I feel like if this one applies decently to the eyes, then I know the other ones will. So let's go ahead and jump in. I think I'm going to start with this color right here, just for my crease or transition shade. And I'm going to use my Jen Phelps crease brush from Doll 10. All right, so far, that's actually showing up really well. And it has a super silky, very blendable feel to it. It's not dragging, it's not grabbing. Like I hardly have to put any pressure on the brush and it's just effortlessly blending. All right, so far so good. I think next I'm gonna apply this shade right here just to kind of deepen up my crease. I'm gonna use the same brush and I'm just gonna put this one a little bit lower down. I mean, really, I feel like this one is blending just as well as the other one. So, I mean, so far so good. Next, I think I'm just gonna pick up this shade right here called Black Tie, and I'm just gonna deepen the outer corner with this one. So I'm just packing it on the outer third of my lid, and I'm just gonna blend that back in toward the center. I think usually these outer third shades that I use, these darker ones, always tend to get a little bit patchy and sometimes they're a little harder to blend. And this one is no exception. As I'm blending it, it's kind of faded quite a bit and it's not really blending out super well. I think that's just with darker shadows in general. They always seem to work best as liners, not so much as eyeshadows. The good thing is most of it gets covered up with the shimmer shade anyway, so not really a big deal. All right, so for my lid shade, I'm just gonna apply some NYX glitter primer. I use this before every single shimmer shade now. It makes such a huge difference. Even if the shimmer shade doesn't need a glitter primer, it still just helps everything to pop a little bit more. And I used to wet my brush with a setting spray to make shimmers pop. And now with this, I don't even have to do that because it has this really sticky feel and anything you put on top of it just automatically pops like it's a wet shadow. So I use that primer for absolutely everything. So now I'm gonna go in and apply this shade right here called Toast. This is a gorgeous taupey brown. I'm just gonna apply this right with my finger. Wow. This is beautiful. It definitely gives that wet look to your eye. It's a shimmer shade that has little micro glitters in the formula, so it's really a stunning color and there was no fallout. I don't know if that's because of the glitter primer, but I actually didn't experience any fallout with the matte shades either. I felt like even though they were very, very soft and powdery, I didn't have anything falling down on my cheeks. I did make sure to tap off my brush though before I applied everything, but I find that with some shimmer shades, even if I do use the glitter primer, I can still get fallout. This doesn't completely stop it. I think it just minimizes it a little bit. So the fact that I'm not getting any fallout with these is definitely a good sign that even if you're not using glitter primer, I think it probably would be fine. All right, so I'm just gonna pop this one on over here. I am really loving how this came out. It's like a very soft, smoky eye. It's not anything too dark or too heavy. I think so far these are beautiful. We'll have to see how they hold up throughout the day, but I'm definitely excited to try the other ones. So next up for mascara, JOAH actually has a new mascara. It's called the High Roller Legendary Volume Mascara. So I'll quickly show you what the packaging looks like. It says 4 out of 5 saw instantly defined lashes, 90% saw thicker lashes, and 88% saw more volumized lashes. They show a little before and after, and it claims to have a roller brush that grips and amplifies each lash. It also claims to be a washable formula that's clump-free, flake-free, and smudge-free. So I'm not quite sure if by washable they mean that it's a tubing formula. Sometimes brands mean tubing when it says washable. Other times it just means that it's not waterproof and you can remove it more easily. This formula says that it's made in Korea. So let's go ahead and try this out. I'm very excited. I haven't tried a JOAH mascara in forever, and I'm so curious to see what this one is like. So I'm just gonna zoom you guys in so you can see a little bit better. All right, so let's start out over here. I don't know how wet of a formula this is gonna be, so I just wanna go a little bit easy at first. It does kind of feel like a wetter formula. It also seems to be building volume pretty quickly. I could definitely see this getting very clumpy. It has almost like like a sticky feel to it. All right, so I think I'm gonna stop here because it's starting to clump up right on those lashes. So I'm just gonna go to the other side, and I'm not gonna dip the brush back into the tube because I still feel like there's a lot of product on here and I don't wanna end up with my lashes being too clumpy. Okay, so this one, even though it is a wetter formula, it dries super fast. Like when I just went back to go apply a little bit more over here, it's already dry and I can't apply anymore. I think it did give me really good volume. It didn't give me quite as much length as something like the Maybelline Sky High or the L'Oreal Telescopic. I do generally look for a more lengthening formula. I don't think this one really claimed to add length though. Just looking at the packaging, it says volume mascara and it's talking about thicker and more volumized lashes, so I don't think it is a lengthening formula, and I think if you are looking for something to add more bulk, this will definitely do that. I just recommend maybe wiping the brush off first. I went in really slowly with this. I did wipe it off on the sides of the tube, but you could also wipe it off like on a tissue or a paper towel first, just to remove some of the excess product, because I felt like I couldn't build this one as much as I wanted to because I was worried about it creating clumps. So I think next time I'll probably wipe off the excess first and then I can kind of go in and build it a little bit more. I'm definitely not hating it, and I think when it dries out a little bit more, it'll probably be that much better. So here's hoping that it doesn't smudge or flake, but we'll definitely test that out throughout the day. All right, so for lips, I got the new Moira Glow Getter Hydrating Lip Oils. They sent me a few different shades to try. I don't think this is all of them. They seem to start at shade 11 and go through 16. So I have 6 different shades, and I figured I would just try all of these on really quick so we can see what all the colors look like. But first I'll show you some swatches. So these come in tubes very similar to their other lip glosses, except these are a little bit shorter and a little bit chunkier. And these claim to be a lip treatment that actually makes your lips healthier while finishing them off with a beautiful gloss. The formula is made with apricot oil, which is full of antioxidants, coconut and jojoba to lock in moisture and keep your lips soft and supple. These are also made in Taiwan, and they claim to be a makeup skincare hybrid. So I just want to show you what all the colors look like. This one is soft peach. They actually have a really thick, very cushiony feel. They remind me a little bit actually of the NYX Fat Lip Oil. So they're not a really thin lip oil that's just going to disappear. You do feel them on your lips, but they're not sticky. They still have that really soft, silky, kind of cushiony feel. They're definitely on the thicker side, which just makes them feel like they have a little bit more grip. And I love this color, by the way. This is so pretty. All right, so going in order, this is shade number 12, Only Smooches. I feel like these are actually very pigmented as well. They really show up the color on your lips like they look in the tube, which is really cool. This next one is shade 13, Lovely Rose. All right, this is shade 14, Honey Boo. And by the way, these have no scent to them at all. And even the darker colors, I'm not as worried about them migrating or moving around because they do have this like thicker, grippier texture. And they have a nice amount of shine too, but they're not overly glossy. They just look kind of more on the dewy side. All right, this is shade number 15, Tea Berry. All right, and then this one is shade number 16, Au Naturel. I love this color too. And I have to say, when I was wiping these swatches off in between, normally, even if I'm doing that with a lip gloss, my lips start to feel a little dry after like the 3rd or 4th one. And today, they didn't feel dry at all. In fact, when I wiped off the lipstick, my lips still retained the moisture. It still almost felt like I was wearing it. It just took the color away. So these are just unbelievably hydrating. Now I'm kind of wondering what shades 1 through 10 look like, because I might want to pick up a few more. Like these are that good. I would say these are definitely my favorite lip product that Moira has come out with to date. I do love their Luminizer lip glosses. These are a little bit on the thinner side, and again, they're not sticky. They feel really smooth on your lips, so I do like these a lot. But I think these, there's just something about like that really plump, cushiony, kind of pillowy texture that I love in a gloss. If you like the NYX lip oils, the new Fat Lip Oil ones, you're gonna love these because they feel very, very similar to those. But if you don't like something that's more thick, that you can kind of feel on your lips, then I think you'd probably like their Luminizer glosses better. It's just all personal preference. Personally, having really dry lips, I love feeling the hydration and just feeling that really thick and rich texture on my lips. So anyway, guys, That's the entire look. I'm gonna go about the rest of my day. I definitely wanna do a wear test and see how the blush holds up, how the eyeshadows hold up, the foundation, and maybe when we come back, I can try on the other blush shades. The reason that I didn't do it initially is because I wanted to do a wear test with the foundation, and when I do blush swatches, I often have to remove the foundation, then put it back on, and it's just gonna be more of an involved process, but at the end of the wear test, then it really doesn't matter either way, and I don't care what the foundation looks like at that point, so when we come back, I'll try on the rest of the blushes and we'll see what those look like, especially the deeper colors on more fair skin. So I'll see you guys in roughly 8 to 9 hours from now and we'll do another check-in. Hey guys, it's about 7 p.m. I just wanted to give you all my final thoughts, and I've been wearing everything for about 9 hours or so, so it's definitely a good full day wear test. And I have to say, I'm really happy with the way that everything held up. I did reapply the lip oil because that wore off very quickly. Pretty much as soon as I ate lunch, it was gone, but I did feel like the hydration really stayed behind even after the color wore away. I'm just so impressed by these. I literally want every single color. Also, the blush is still holding up so beautifully. I think it looks awesome, and I definitely want to try on the other colors for you guys, so we'll do that in just a couple minutes. As far as the eyeshadow goes, I'm also very impressed with this. Not only did the lid shade hold up well, which I kind of figured it would since I was wearing the NYX glitter primer, but even the transition shades, I still see those as well, so I think those really have good staying power. I do have dry eyelids, so just keep that in mind. So generally eyeshadows don't crease or fade very easily on me, but I do think that this held up really well. Mascara too, I have no flakes, no smudging, so I'm not crazy with how wet of a formula the mascara was, but I also don't feel like it's weighing down my lashes. They still look pretty curled up, and I did not curl them beforehand. I'm actually pretty happy with that as well. As far as the foundation goes, I'm not loving it, and I'm kind of starting to remember why I never really reached for the Primedation back when that's what it was called. It's just a little bit too glowy for me, and that's a totally like personal preference thing. I know a lot of people really enjoy a glowy foundation. Personally, I just feel like it's highlighting all of my texture. I see more texture on my forehead than usual. I see more on my cheeks, although I think the blush actually did smooth it out quite a bit. My chin looks a little more textury. I do think the foundation stayed on really well. I didn't notice fading on my nose. It actually sticks to your nose really well, which is a bonus. Most foundations kind of wear off on my nose first. This one did a good job with that, but I just don't like the way it sits on my drier skin. So again, I don't know if you have a different skin type or maybe you don't have as much texture, you might enjoy this one a little bit more. I think when it comes to JOAH, I'll probably just stick with their BB cream that I mentioned earlier. So I think overall, the lip oils and the blushes are definitely my number ones here. And I also think the eyeshadow palette is really nice. I don't feel like they're the absolute best eyeshadows I've ever tried, but I think they are a very solid drugstore formula, at least trying it out once. So I'm just excited to continue playing with these. And once I do an update video on like things that I've tried recently, which I tend to do every couple months, I'll be sure to let you know if I still feel that way once I've had a chance to play with these a little bit more. Oh, one thing I wasn't crazy about was the CC Prep under eye correctors from Moira. These are just way too glowy, too glittery for me. I would say this and the foundation are definitely the products I liked the least today, just because both of them are way too glowy and just very texture enhancing. So while I do think it did a good job at brightening my under eye area and correcting things, again, just personal preference, I don't like how glowy it is. So, all right, let's go ahead and I'll remove this color blush and I'll try on the other shades real quick. All right, so I still have Confident Pink over here, and I'm gonna put Fearless Coral on this side just so we can see the two lightest shades compared. I actually think these two colors are pretty close. This one just maybe has a little bit more peachiness to it, while this one is a little bit more pink, but I think they're really similar. All right, next we'll do Daring Rosewood. This one is that rosy brown color. I just barely put the brush into this one because I don't want too much. It's a little bit of a deeper color. I just can't get over how smooth these blushes are. They look so good on the skin. And actually this color is beautiful. I didn't expect to really like it. It almost gives kind of like a bronzed or a sunburned sort of look, so I actually really like this a lot. It's not quite as bright as the pop of pink over here, but I like it. It's a little bit more on the subtle side. It would be a great neutral shade if you have more color going on your eyes or lips and you just want to keep your cheeks like very simple. All right, and then the last one is Legendary Berry. This one I'm also kind of a little bit nervous about. I'm gonna try to go in as lightly as I can with it, and we'll see what happens. I didn't feel like the last one. I mean, they're pigmented, but they're not crazy pigmented, and they're so soft and they blend really easily. So I think if you just pick up a little bit, you can just make that one little bit just go really far. Okay, so you are gonna get a bolder cheek out of this one, but I still think it's beautiful. It's like a really, almost like the cold girl sort of a look. This is a good shade for if you're keeping your cheeks as the focal point and just doing more of a neutral eye or lips. So I honestly think all the colors are pretty and I will definitely wear them all. So I'm really happy about that. I wasn't sure about the 2 deeper shades, but I do like them. So anyway, guys, I wanna thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I really, truly appreciate it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of these products down below. What are you interested in trying out, or have you tried any of these yet? I'd love to hear your thoughts on them if you have. And if you do have some extra time and you want to check out more videos on my channel, I'll just go ahead and put some right there for you to see next in case you're interested. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope you'll go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all in my next one. Take care, guys. Bye.